I love reading, and I've loved Taylor Swift's music since I was like 8 years old, and there's actually quite a bit of overlap between those two things because when I listen to her music, I'm reminded of a lot of the emotions I feel when reading fiction books, which makes sense considering she writes a lot of music in a storytelling format. So I had the bright idea to start researching books that Taylor Swift herself has recommended, and it turns out she has entire songs and music videos inspired by books that she's read. So I made it my mission to read like her this week and see if we can understand more of her mind when it comes to writing music, filming these music videos, and how she came to be known as a mastermind when it comes to lyrics.
You know, you'll see a lot of kind of references to like Romeo and Juliet and Scarlet Letter and things like that kind of referenced in my songs, and that's from my reading.
The first book that Taylor Swift recommends, so dramatic, is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I've never read this book, but if you would have told me back then that it was recommended by Taylor Swift, I probably would have read it. And she's taken inspiration from this book in multiple different ways. There are a few music videos actually that are said to be inspired by this book, as well as various lyrics throughout different songs on different albums. So I'm going to read it and then we're gonna research all of those little details. I'm about to start The Great Gatsby. I'm actually so excited because I was never forced to read this in school. It's one of my best friend's favorite books, actually, and it's one of the only classics I've read in a long time. So I brought a pen to annotate as if I were in high school. Suddenly it's summer. Just kidding. It's becoming spring. And spring, I think, well, I don't know, I love seasons, but I think spring is one of my favorite seasons, and I just think that this book deserves to be read outside in the park. I do feel like setting actually affects your reading experience of things so much. Like reading fantasy at nighttime in the dark just hits a little bit better than in the bright daylight. So I'm 50 pages in to this book, which is crazy because it's only 180 pages. So if I spend 2 hours outside at the park, I should be able to get this done. And I'm actually really enjoying this book, which is amazing because I've been reading a lot of books lately that I've just thought are kind of and I've had to assess, okay, why is that happening? Because that means I personally am choosing books that I don't like, which is my fault. And I think I realized it's because I've been avoiding books that I think will take a little bit more effort, but it's always the books that take a little bit more effort that I end up absolutely loving. For example, the Red Rising series gave that entire trilogy 5 out of 5 stars. I could read the next book, but it's a little bit longer, it's sci-fi, so my brain has to be turned on a little bit more, and so I avoid it, and then I pick up a book that I know is easy for my brain to read, and I end up hating it. I love writing like this, so I end up loving the book, but I just avoid it because in my head I'm like, oh, it's a classic, it must be boring. Not the case with this one. It's still very easy to read, but the writing is beautiful. Like, this is literally just me discovering the most famous piece of literature in the world. But that's really fun. I'm really excited that I'm finally reading this, and I've also never seen the movie, so that'll be fun. After reading this, I can watch the Delicate music video, see if I can figure out how she was inspired by this book, and I could watch the movie. So let me go frolic in the grass with this book real quick. I finished this bad boy in a day. Haven't read a classic in years, and I know people always say this is the one to get you into classics, but it's so true because it was 180 pages and I sat directly, this is stupid, don't do this, I sat directly in the sun for 2.5 hours, but to be fair, it's this book's fault because I wasn't expecting to do that. Usually I'll last like a good 30 minutes in the sun, but at no point did I want to stop this book. It was so enjoyable and it just flowed like water. And I was on a boat going downstream and I read it all the way to the end, and I was shocked at the end and I didn't know that was gonna happen because I don't know anything about this book. I don't know how I've gotten 223 without knowing anything about this book, but I didn't know anything. And I loved it, and it was great. And obviously, the first thing that I think about after finishing this book is, what was I supposed to get out of reading that book? Because if there are entire high school courses about this, clearly there's something to teach on. And I told Ryan I read it, and he was like,
oh yeah, the green light.
And I was like, what? Which I do remember the green light. It's like off in the distance over the water. It represents wealth, a new life. I don't know. I'm not gonna give you your high school course in this video. I really enjoyed this book for the writing. As someone who's been reading a lot of books that I haven't enjoyed lately, I thought the writing was genius because I've been reading like not good books. So that was amazing, and I definitely feel the vibes that Taylor Swift would just read this book and get inspired by it. So now I'm going to watch the Delicate music video, and then I'm gonna look up what parts of the music video were inspired by this book and see if I understood any of that for myself, I guess. Here we go. Oh no, this is the one where she dances. Guys, I'm sorry. I did not mean to have that reaction. Let me compose myself. I'm sorry. That was rude. I grew up a dancer. Obviously, I don't think Taylor did. I don't want to watch this anymore. No, I'm fine. I have seen this music video before. I had forgotten. But I hadn't read The Great Gatsby. Now, watching it, her outfit is very clearly from like the 1920s. Flapper inspired, perhaps. Okay, I guess I'm gonna watch it. Funny timing, guys. Literally just watched the music video and a Taylor Swift expert just arrived at my house and she has a very good explanation for the music video. Let's welcome her in.
Hi! Oh my gosh!
So when I made a judgmental little face
It's
about
understandable.
Yes.
First time I watched it, I was also a little bit confused. Reputation era, Taylor Swift gets canceled by the whole world. The media hates her, everyone doesn't like her. So she's dancing around in public because it's as if she was disappeared because she left the public eye for a year. So if you had the ability to disappear and be invisible in a room full of people, what are you gonna do?
it. Dance like no one's watching.
Yes!
Yeah, I see.
Isn't that fun?
So it's not supposed to be pretty. It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be like if you're alone in your house and you have the opportunity to just exist in the fullest extent of yourself with no judgment of anyone else, you're not trying to look good.
Right.
Like she's dancing like a fool, but that's the point.
That makes so much more sense. And I'm honestly glad that that's the point of the video because otherwise it would be scary.
Yeah.
Great Gatsby is also one of Bree's favorite books. And did you know this? I'm sure you already did because you're the Taylor Swift expert. But I was reading this article. There's a lyric in the song, "This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things." She says, "Feeling so Gatsby for that whole year." Pretty obvious.
And doesn't she have a song about Daisy? Like she mentions Daisy.
Which one is that?
So long, Daisy May. I wonder if that's the Daisy she's referring to though.
They said Happiness is about Daisy.
Oh.
What?
Happiness, she does reference it. You know the green light in the book?
Guys, we were just talking about that.
The lyric. Oh my gosh, it literally is.
What?
The lyrics of happiness. There'll be happiness after you, but there is happiness because of you. Both of these things can be true. There is happiness. Swift sings in reference to a breakup that happens after 7 years in heaven. While it's not totally clear who inspired the song, there are allusions to The Great Gatsby. I hope she'll be your beautiful fool who takes my spot next to you. One lyric reads, referencing Daisy's hope for her daughter that she'll be a fool. That's the best. Did you finish the book?
Yeah.
Okay. That she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world. A beautiful little fool.
Oh yeah, I remember that
there's
line.
that. And then there's a line in the song. All I want from me now is the green light of forgiveness.
That was way more subtle.
Yeah.
kind of.
Her brain is not a
Her
normal
brain.
brain.
And that's
so
what we're
if she's
learning.
read a book one time, like she will interweave it into every song. I'll do more research for you. I'm so curious now. Happy, that's crazy though. That song is references it so much. I hope she'll be a beautiful fool. Who uses that language? Daisy.
And that is from our Taylor Swift expert. Thank you so much. Her name is Brianna Kay. She makes non-Taylor Swift related content elsewhere. I don't know what I would rate this. If someone in my real life were to ask me, did you like it? Should I read it? I would say, yes, I absolutely loved it. You should definitely read it. So 5 stars. I mean, why not? The next book that Taylor Swift has talked about in an interview and I think really enjoyed is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. It says best novel of the century. So I think this is actually another classic. Crazy. I haven't read classics in so long, but she says,
When I was reading, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and I was thinking, wow, her husband just tolerates her. She's doing all these things and she's trying so hard and she's trying to impress him and he's just tolerating her the whole time. There was a part of me that was relating to that because at some point in my life I felt that way. And so I ended up writing this song, Tolerate It, that's all about sort of trying to love someone who's ambivalent.
I love the song Tolerate It. If you were one of the lucky ducks that got to go to the Eras tour, when she performs Tolerate It, they set up this really long dining table. Taylor Swift is on one end, the actor's on the other end, super long dining table, and the whole song is about how her love in the relationship is tolerated instead of celebrated. And this book is about a girl named, I've actually read 100 pages of this. I can't remember her name, but she's this young, naive girl, and this older, very wealthy man marries her because his wife died like a year ago, and she moves into his house with him, this very beautiful, big mansion, and she starts getting haunted by Rebecca, who was the ex-wife. It says, the classic tale of romantic suspense. I cannot believe I'm reading 2 classics in a week. This is crazy for me, and I was really nervous when I started this because the first 5 pages were just describing the winding pathway leading up to this huge mansion mansion house. And I was like, this is gonna be really hard to read. I don't think I can do this. But then it got really good. I think it just starts off really slow. The writing is actually beautiful, and I feel like both of these books have writing that's just super calming and peaceful, and I just feel like I'm floating while I'm reading it. And it's a really nice change of pace from what I was reading. So yeah, I'm 99 pages in. She just moved into the Manderley, which is like the huge estate. It's like a famous house because of how big it is. And we're gonna see how she starts getting haunted and how the song is inspired by this.
Action.
What's up, guys? I'm back. The book is pretty good so far. A little slow, but a lot of my favorite 5-star reads start off that way. So I think the romance is gonna kind of pick up here, and we're just gonna keep reading. I have like about 250 more pages to get through today, so it's gonna be a grinder. But here we go, guys.
Cut. Nice. Good.
Good morning. I have this much left to being done with Rebecca. And by my tone, you might think I haven't been enjoying it. And that's not true. I have been enjoying it. It's just taking me longer than the normal book because the words are more wordy. The sentences are more sentency. The book is more booky. And your math is not mathing. No, it's a classic. But I think it's a pretty easy classic to read. I'm on page 390 out of 428 pages, so I am about to sit down and finish it. But first, I just have to read you a quote from this book. I think it's one of the most beautiful paragraphs I've ever that I've read in a book recently, and I wish I had some artsy little footage of myself so that I could read this and then lay it over top, because this is some short film type of stuff. I thought I would underline like one line, and then I just kept going, and it's pretty much half the page, so I'll read it to you. For context, they're having lunch together outside in the garden, okay? I wanted to go on sitting there, not talking, not listening to the others, keeping the moment precious for all time, because we were peaceful, all of us. We were content and drowsy, even as the bee who droned above our heads. In a little while, it would be different. There would come tomorrow and the next day and another year, and we would be changed perhaps, never sitting quite like this again. Some of us would go away, or suffer, or die. The future stretched away in front of us, unknown, unseen. Not perhaps what we wanted, not what we planned. This moment was safe though. This could not be touched. Here we sat together, Maxime and I, hand in hand, and the past and the future mattered not at all. This was secure. This funny fragment of time he would never remember, never think about again. He would not hold it sacred. He was talking about cutting away some of the undergrowth in the drive, and Beatrice agreed, interrupting with some suggestion of her own, and throwing a piece of grass at Giles at the same time. For them, it was just after lunch, 3:15 on a haphazard afternoon, like any hour, like any day. They did not want to hold it close, imprisoned and secure, as I did. They were not afraid. It's so pretty. She just captured that feeling of being present for a moment in time and maybe experiencing life in a different way than her peers had been, because for her, she didn't grow up rich and she was not used to sitting in the garden of a mansion where people were bringing them food and tea and not having a care in the world. For her, it was very special, and for the people around her, it just was another day after lunch. And the writing is just gorgeous and amazing, and I can understand how someone like Taylor Swift, who writes very poetic lyrics, would enjoy writing like this. And also, if you haven't listened to the song Tolerate It, this quote right here where she compares herself to the dog who lives in the house, I feel like is such a direct correlation to the song. It says, "That's what I do to Jasper, I thought. I'm being like Jasper now, leaning against him. He pats me now and again when he remembers, and I'm pleased. I get closer to him for a moment. He likes me in the way I like Jasper." And Jasper is a dog. So the way that Maxime treats her, oh, like, you're nice when I remember that you're there, but other than that, probably will forget you for half the day. So that's the vibe of the relationship in this book and the vibe of Tolerate It. But yeah, the book took quite a turn. I gasped, and I'm excited to see how this ends. It's all coming to a head right now, which I kind of hate that phrase because it reminds me of a pimple. So that's awesome. Let's finish it. I just finished this. And if you remember earlier when I was talking about this book, and I was like, and our narrator's name is... what is her name? I don't think we ever hear her name. In the back of my mind, I was like, I feel like I've heard a book review where someone said that the narrator stays nameless the entire book, and that is true of this one. And I'm reading the afterword to learn more about the book, and it says the unnamed narrator... What did I just say? Wait. That's crazy. But yeah, the afterword confirms that she is nameless the entire book, which is crazy. Wait, this is crazy. Okay, now I just read the entire afterword because it basically explains the entire book and the themes that I am not smart enough to just read the book and understand. But after reading it, it blew my mind. And it's so fun because I love a good psychological thriller movie where you get to watch like everything explained at the end, probably on a YouTube video or something. And that's what reading this book was like for me, which is so cool because as someone who doesn't read classics normally, I'm kind of discovering why they're so cool because there's just so much thought put into everything, and getting to be able to read the explanations at the end and have that mind blown moment is so fun because that just doesn't happen in the modern fiction that I've been reading. What a time. What a book. Would have never picked up this book had it not been for this video and for Taylor Swift to be recommending it everywhere apparently. So what did I learn from Miss Swiftie? She likes her classics and she likes writing lyrics about the female protagonists of those classics. Everyone comment down below, thank you Taylor Swift, because I would have never read classics had it not come to this video, honestly. And now I want to read more. Let me know what other classics I should read and let me know your favorite Taylor Swift song. And I will see you guys in another video or somewhere else on the internet.